Princess Kira stood at the tall window of the royal palace, looking out at the silver towers of the Zelrian capital city. Her hands rested on the cold metal frame as she watched the flying vehicles move between the buildings like bright dots of light. Behind her she could hear the voices of the High Council members talking in low, angry tones. "She is useless to us now," said Lord Commander Zack, his voice cutting through the air like a blade. "The royal doctors have tried everything, 3 years of treatments and still nothing. Barren Princess brings shame to the royal bloodline." Kira closed her eyes and tried not to listen, but the words still reached her ears. She had heard them many times before. In Zelrian society, a woman's worth was measured by her ability to produce strong, healthy children. The royal family needed heirs to continue their rule over the vast Zelrian empire that stretched across 12 star systems. "The human delegation is still waiting for our answer," said Counselor Vera, her voice high and sharp. "They want a marriage alliance with their colony world. They think it will make our 2 species friends." Lord Commander Zack laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "Friends with humans, these primitive creatures barely understand basic technology. They still use chemical rockets to travel between planets. Their medicine is centuries behind ours. Then why not give them what they want?" asked another voice. Kira turned slightly to see Counselor standing near the large table where the council members sat. His green eyes gleamed with something that looked like cruel humor. "They asked for a royal bride. Let us give them our broken princess." The room felt quiet for a moment. Kira felt her heart beat faster in her chest. She knew they were talking about her, but she stayed still and quiet by the window. "You mean to send Princess Kira to the humans?" asked Counselor Vera. "Why not?" Blick spread his long arms wide. "She is of no use here. The humans will not know she is barren until after the marriage ceremony. When they discover the truth, they will feel cheated and angry. This will give us reason to break the alliance and take their colony world by force." Lord Commander Zack nodded slowly. "It is a clever plan. The humans will think we have honored them with a royal marriage. When no children come, they will blame us for sending them a defective wife. We will blame them for not being worthy of Zellian royalty." Kira pressed her lips together to stop herself from making any sound. She had always known that her inability to have children made her worthless in the eyes of the royal court, but to hear them plan to use her as a weapon against another species made her feel sick. "The human diplomat seemed very eager," said Counselor Vera. "His name is Jake Mitchell. He runs the government of their colony world called New Terra. He asked specifically for a marriage that would show trust between our peoples. Then he will get exactly what he asked for," said Counselor Blix with another cruel laugh. "A royal princess. We just will not tell him that she is broken goods." Kira finally turned away from the window to face the council members. They all looked at her with the same expression she had seen for years. Disappointment mixed with barely hidden disgust. In Zelrian culture, showing emotion was considered weak, so she kept her face calm and empty. "Your Highness," said Lord Commander Zack, standing up from his seat, "the council has made a decision about the human marriage proposal." "I understand," Kira said in a quiet voice. "When do I leave for New Terra?" The council members looked surprised that she accepted so easily. They had probably expected her to argue or cry. But Kira had learned long ago that fighting against the Council's decisions only made things worse. The human ship will arrive in 2 weeks, said Counselor Vera. You will travel with them back to their colony world. The marriage ceremony will take place there according to human customs. Kira nodded. She had studied human culture during her education, along with the cultures of dozens of other alien species. Humans were different from Zelans. In many ways they seemed to care more about emotions and feelings than about genetic perfection. They had strange ideas about love and choosing their own marriage partners. Is there anything else I should know about this, Jake Mitchell? Kira asked. Lord Commander Zack picked up a data tablet from the table and read from it. He is 32 years old in human time. He was a soldier before becoming a leader. He helped build the colony on New Terra. From nothing, the humans seem to respect him. He is probably desperate for any wife, said Counselor Blix. Their colony is small and far from Earth. He likely cannot find a human woman willing to marry him. Kira did not respond to that comment. She had seen pictures of Jake Mitchell in the diplomatic files. He looked kind and intelligent with brown hair and green eyes. He did not look like someone who would be desperate for any wife. Over the next 2 weeks, Kira prepared for her journey to New Terra. She packed her clothes and a few personal items. She said goodbye to her younger sister, Princess Nala, who was still considered valuable because the doctors believed she could have children. I will miss you, Nala whispered as they hugged in Kira's room. Take care of yourself, Kira whispered back. Do not let them treat you the way they treated me. When the human ship arrived, Kira was ready. She walked up the ramp with her head held high, carrying only a small bag. Behind her, she could hear the council members talking and laughing about their clever trick. As the ship pulled away from the Zelrian home world, Kira looked out through a small window at the planet growing smaller below them. She did not know what waited for her on New Terra, but she knew it could not be worse than the life she was leaving behind. The joke was on her and she knew it, but maybe, just maybe, the joke would end up being on someone else. The human ship landed on New Terra with a soft bump that made Kira grab the wall to keep her balance. She had been traveling for 6 days and her body felt tired and stiff. Through the ship's windows she could see a world very different from her home planet. New Terra was covered in green plants and blue water. The sky was a bright blue color with white clouds floating across it. Mountains rose up in the distance, their tops covered with white snow. Kira had seen pictures of worlds like this, but being here felt strange and new. Captain Brown, the human ship commander, walked up to her with a smile on his face. We're here, Your Highness. Jake Mitchell is waiting outside to meet you. Kira nodded and picked up her bag. She had worn her finest dress for this meeting, a long silver gown that showed her royal status. Her dark hair was pulled back in the traditional Zelrian style, and she wore the small crown that marked her as a princess. The ship's door opened and warm air rushed inside. Kira had never felt air like this before. On her home world, the air was always cold and clean, filtered through machines. This air smelled of growing things and earth and something she could not name. A group of humans stood waiting at the bottom of the ship's ramp. In the center stood a man with brown hair and kind green eyes. He was Tall, but not as tall as most Zellian. Males, he wore simple clothes, dark pants and a white shirt with a blue jacket over it. This had to be Jake. Mitchell. Kira walked down the ramp, slowly trying to look calm and royal. When she reached the bottom, Jake stepped forward and gave her a small bow. Your Highness, he said, welcome to New Terra. I am Jake Mitchell. Thank you, Kira replied. She had practiced her English during the journey, but her accent still made the words sound different. Jake smiled at her and Kira was surprised by how warm his expression looked. Please just call me Jake, and may I call you Kira? I know royal protocol is important, but we're pretty informal here on New Terra. This was already different from what Kira expected. In Zelrian culture, using first names was only allowed between close family members or very old friends, if that is what you prefer, she said. Great, Jake gestured to the other humans standing nearby. Let me introduce you to some of our key people. This is Mayor Lisa Park, who runs our main city, Dr. Amy Foster, our chief medical officer, and Commander Ben Crawford, who handles our defense. Each person stepped forward to shake Kira's hand. This was another human custom that felt strange to her. Zellians did not touch each other unless they were family or marriage partners, but she tried to copy what the humans did. We've prepared a place for you to stay, Jake said as they walked toward a group of vehicles. It's not a palace, but I think you'll find it comfortable. The vehicles were simple but clean. Kira sat next to Jake as they drove through the human settlement. The buildings were smaller than those on her home world, made of wood and stone instead of metal and glass. People walked along the streets, and many of them waved when they saw the vehicle pass by. How many people here? Kira asked. About 50,000 in the main settlement, Jake replied. Another 20,000 spread out in smaller towns. We've been here for 8 years now. Kira looked out the window at the people they passed. They looked happy and relaxed in a way that seemed strange to her. On her home world, people always seemed worried about something: their jobs, their status, their genetic health reports. Jake's house was larger than most of the others, but still much smaller than the royal palace. It was made of wood and stone with large windows and a garden full of colorful flowers. This is beautiful, Kira said as they walked up to the front door. My wife, I mean my first wife, she loved gardens, Jake said quietly. She died 3 years ago in an accident. I've tried to keep the flowers growing the way she would have wanted. Kira looked at him with surprise. In Zellian culture, men rarely talked about their feelings, especially sad ones. I am sorry for your loss. Thank you, Jake said. She would have been excited to meet you. She always wanted to learn about other cultures. Inside the house, Jake showed Kira to her room. It was large and bright with windows that looked out over the garden. The bed was covered with soft blankets, and there was a desk where she could work if she wanted to. The bathroom is right next door, Jake said, and the kitchen is downstairs if you get hungry. Please make yourself at home. That evening, Jake cooked dinner for both of them. This was another surprise for Kira. In her culture, servants prepared all meals for royalty, but Jake seemed to enjoy cooking, and the food smelled wonderful. I hope you like it, he said, as he set a plate in front of her. It's nothing fancy, just chicken with vegetables from our garden. The food tasted different from anything Kira had eaten before. It was warm and flavorful, with spices she did not recognize. "This is very good," she said. "I'm glad you like it." Jake sat down across from her with his own plate. "I wanted to talk to you about our situation here. I know this marriage was arranged by our governments, but I want you to know that I don't expect anything from you that you're not comfortable with." Kira looked up from her food, confused. "What do you mean?" "Well," Jake said, looking a little nervous, "I know Zelen marriages are different from human ones. They're more about genetics and producing strong children, but I want you to know that you don't have to worry about that with me. We can take things slow and see how we get along first." Kira felt something strange in her chest, a warmth that she had never experienced before. No one had ever told her that her comfort mattered more than her duty to produce children. In human culture, we believe marriage should be about partnership, Jake continued. Two people working together and supporting each other. I'd like us to be friends first if possible. Friends? Kira repeated the word carefully. Yes, people who enjoy each other's company and care about each other's happiness. Jake smiled at her. Again, is that something that interests you? Kira thought about this idea. On her home world, friendship between men and women was not common. Most relationships were based on duty, status, or genetic compatibility. Idea of someone caring about her happiness seemed almost impossible. "I would like to try," she said softly. Over the next few weeks, Jake showed Kira around New Terra. They visited the farms where humans grew food, the workshops where they built tools and machines, and the schools where children learned. Everything was smaller and simpler than what Kira was used to, but it also seemed more alive somehow. Jake never pressured her about marriage, duties, or having children. Instead, he asked about her interests and opinions. He discovered that she loved science and engineering, subjects that were usually forbidden to Zelrian women. He brought her books and introduced her to Dr. Amy Foster, who was happy to discuss medical research with someone who understood advanced genetics. Slowly, Kira began to feel something she had never felt before. She felt valued for who she was, not just for what her body could or could not do. She found herself looking forward to her conversations with Jake and even laughing at his jokes. Maybe this marriage would not be the punishment she had expected. Maybe it would be something entirely different. 3 months after arriving on New Terra, Kira sat in Dr. Amy Foster's medical office, feeling nervous about her first human medical examination. The room was bright and clean, but much warmer than the cold metal examination rooms back home. Amy was a woman in her 40s with short blonde hair and a friendly smile that made Kira feel more comfortable. "This is just a routine health check," Amy explained as she prepared her equipment. "All colonists get them every 6 months. I want to make sure you're healthy and that your body is adjusting well to our planet." Kira nodded, but her hands were shaking slightly. She had been through many medical examinations on her home world, and they were always painful and embarrassing. The Zelrian doctors had poked and tested her for years, trying to fix what they called her genetic defects. "Are you all right?" Amy asked, noticing Kira's nervousness. "We can stop anytime you want. I am fine," Kira said, though her voice sounded tight. "Please continue." Amy worked gently and carefully, explaining everything she was doing. She took blood samples, checked Kira's heart and lungs, and asked questions about how she had been feeling since arriving on New Terra. Your heart rate is a bit fast, Amy observed. Are you feeling stressed about something? Kira hesitated, then decided to be honest. Medical examinations make me nervous. On my world, the doctors were always trying to find ways to fix my problems. What kinds of problems? Amy asked softly. Kira looked down at her hands. Even though she had grown to trust Jake over the past months, talking about her fertility issues still brought shame. I cannot have children, the royal doctor said. My genetics are defective. Amy frowned and made some notes on her tablet. Can you tell me more about these examinations? What did the doctors find exactly? For the next hour, Kira described the years of painful treatments she had endured, the hormone injections that made her sick, the genetic therapy that never worked, the constant stress of knowing she was disappointing everyone around her. Amy listened carefully, asking questions and taking more notes. When Kira finished talking, Amy sat back in her chair with a thoughtful expression. I'd like to run some more detailed tests, Amy said, but not the kind you're used to. I want to check your hormone levels, your stress indicators, and how your body is responding to the environment here on New Terra. Will it hurt? Kira asked. Not at all, just more blood samples and some simple scans. Amy leaned forward. Kira, I want you to know that human medicine might see things very differently from Zellian medicine. We don't always have the same ideas about what makes someone healthy or unhealthy. A week later, Amy called Kira back to the medical center. This time, Jake came with her for support. Amy's expression was excited, but also careful, as if she had important news, but was not sure how to share it. I've finished analyzing all your test results, Amy began, and I think you're going to find them very interesting. Kira gripped Jake's hand tightly. What did you find? Amy pulled up some charts on her computer screen. First, let me explain something about Zelrian biology that might surprise you. Your species evolved on a planet with very specific environmental conditions: high radiation, low oxygen, and almost no natural vegetation. Yes, Kira said, that is why we live in controlled cities with artificial air and light. Right, but here's the thing, your body's adapted to that harsh environment by becoming very sensitive to stress, and Zelrians are under emotional or physical pressure. Their reproductive systems basically shut down to protect them. Jake frowned. But wouldn't their doctors know that? You'd think so, Amy said, but it seems like Zelrian medicine focuses so much on genetics that they miss the environmental factors. Kira, look at these hormone readings. Amy showed them a chart with lines that meant nothing to Kira, but Amy's excitement was clear. When you first arrived here, your stress hormones were extremely high. Your body was essentially in survival mode, which explains why you couldn't get pregnant back home. But look at these numbers. From last week, the lines on the chart were much lower and more stable. Stress levels have dropped dramatically since you've been here. The clean air, the natural sunlight, the relaxed social environment, it's all helping your body heal from years of chronic stress. Kira stared at the screen, trying to understand what Amy was telling her. Are you saying that I am not actually barren? I'm saying that your fertility problems were probably caused by your Environment and stress levels, not by defective genetics. Amy turned to face Kira directly. There's something else. Human physiology produces certain compounds that seem to help cell and reproductive health, the foods we eat, even the bacteria in our gut. It's all creating the perfect conditions for your body to function normally. Jake squeezed Kira's hand gently. What does this mean? Exactly, Amy smiled. It means that if Kira wants to have children someday, there's a very good chance she can. Her body just needed the right environment to heal. Kira felt like the room was spinning around her. For years she had been told that she was broken, worthless, a genetic failure. The shame had become such a part of her identity that she could not imagine herself without it. Are you certain? She whispered. As certain as I can be. Without more time to observe the changes, Amy said. But Kira, your latest tests show all the signs of a healthy reproductive system. If you and Jake decide you want to try for a family, I think you have an excellent chance of success. Tears started running down Kira's face. Before she realized she was crying. In Zelrian culture, crying was seen as a sign of weakness, but here on New Terra, Jake just pulled her into a gentle hug. It's okay, he murmured. Let it out. I do not understand. Kira sobbed against his shoulder. How could they be so wrong about me? Amy handed her some tissues. Sometimes the best doctors can miss the most important things. They were so focused on complex genetic solutions that they never considered simple environmental causes. That evening, Kira and Jake sat in their garden as the sun set behind the mountains. Kira had cried for hours, releasing years of pain and shame. Now she felt empty, but also strangely light, as if a heavy weight had been lifted from her shoulders. How do you feel? Jake asked gently. Confused, Kira admitted. Angry, sad, but also hopeful. She looked at him. Is that strange? Not at all. Jake took her hand. You've been carrying this burden for so long. It makes sense that learning the truth would bring up a lot of emotions. Kira was quiet for a moment, thinking about everything Amy had told them. Jake, do you want children? Jake was quiet for a long time before answering. I'd love to have a family with you if that's something you want to, but only when you're ready. There's no pressure. I never thought I would have a choice, Kira said softly. In my culture, having children is a duty, not a decision, but with you it feels different. It feels like something we could choose together. That's how it should be, Jake said, partners making decisions together. As the stars came out in the alien sky above New Terra, Kira felt something she had never experienced before. For the first time in her life, she felt truly free to choose her own future, and for the first time that future looked bright and full of possibilities. 6 months later, Kira sat in the same medical office where she had learned the truth about her health. This time her hands shook, not from fear but from excitement, as Amy prepared to confirm what she already suspected. Well, Amy said with a huge smile as she looked at the test results. Congratulations. You're definitely pregnant. Kira felt tears of joy fill her eyes, even though she had been hoping for this news. Hearing it made real felt like a miracle. Jake, who had been pacing nervously around the room, stopped and stared at Amy. Really? We're going to have a baby? You're going to have a baby? Amy confirmed. And from what I can see, everything looks perfectly healthy. The baby is about 6 weeks along. Jake whooped with joy and swept Kira up in a gentle hug, spinning her around. Carefully, I can't believe it, we're going to be parents. Kira laughed and cried at the same time. I still cannot believe this is real, after so many years of being told it was impossible. The news spread quickly through the small community of New Terra. Their neighbors brought gifts and congratulations. Mayor Lisa Park organized a celebration dinner for the whole colony. Everyone seemed genuinely happy for them, which made Kira feel like she truly belonged here. But Jake knew they had to tell the Zelrian Empire about the pregnancy. As a diplomatic marriage, their relationship was being watched by both governments. He sent an official message to the Zelrian High Council, along with medical records from Dr. Foster to prove the pregnancy was real. The response came back faster than expected, and it was not congratulations. Admiral Ben Crawford called an emergency meeting with Jake and Kira 3 days after the message was sent. His face was grim as he sat down at the conference table. In the government building, we've been monitoring Zellian communications since you sent that message, Ben said. Reaction has been intense. What kind of reaction? Jake asked, though his voice suggested he already feared the answer. Ben activated a holographic display showing intercepted Zelrian military communications. They're calling your message a lie. The High Council is claiming that humans used primitive genetic manipulation to fake the pregnancy. Kira felt cold. Despite the warm air in the room, they refused to believe it is real. It's worse than that, Ben continued. There's been a political explosion in their government. The faction that arranged your marriage is being accused of treason for sending a potentially fertile royal to aliens. Jake leaned forward in his chair. What does that mean for us? Empress Vara, Kira's mother, has demanded that you return immediately for what they're calling medical verification. They claim they need to rescue you from human contamination. Kira's hand moved protectively to her still flat stomach. I will not go back. They will try to take my baby from me. We won't let that happen, Jake said firmly. But what's the military situation, Ben? Admiral Crawford's expression grew even more serious. 3 Zellian battle fleets have moved to positions near our border. They're not in attack formation yet, but they could be here in less than a week. If they decide to come, they would start a war over this. Kira asked in disbelief. Think about it from their perspective, Ben explained. For years, their best doctor said you were genetically defective. If our simple human medicine succeeded where theirs failed, it makes them look incompetent. It challenges their whole belief system about genetic superiority. Jake stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the peaceful colony streets. So, what are our options? Not many good ones, Ben admitted. We've sent messages to Earth asking for military support, but the nearest human fleet is months away. We have some defensive capabilities, but we're badly outnumbered. There must be something we can do, Kira said, some way to make them understand that this pregnancy is real and natural. Actually, Ben said, there might be. We've been monitoring their internal communications, and the Empire is split. Not everyone believes the official story. Some of their scientists are asking questions about your case. Ben brought up another display showing intercepted messages. Dr. Zenax, one of their top geneticists, has been reviewing your old medical files. She's starting to suspect that the fertility treatments you received might have actually made your condition worse. What do you mean? Kira asked. The stress, hormones from the painful treatments, combined with the artificial environment of your home world created a cycle that kept making your reproductive system shut down. Dr. Cax thinks the Zelrian medical establishment has been making the same mistake with other women too. Jake turned back to face them, so there might be others like Kira, possibly. Hundreds, Ben said. The Zellian Empire has been seeing declining birth rates. For decades, they blamed it on genetic degradation, but what if it's really environmental stress? An idea began forming in Kira's mind. What if we could prove that? What if we could show them that their own medical practices are causing the fertility problems they're trying to solve? That would be incredibly dangerous for you, Jake said. If you're wrong, they'll take you back, and we'll never see you again. But if I'm right, Kira said, standing up and placing her hand on her stomach, this baby could change the future for both our species. Over the next few days, Kira worked with Dr. Amy Foster to prepare a detailed medical report. They documented everything about her recovery on New Terra, comparing her current health to her condition when she first arrived. They included blood tests, hormone levels, and brain scans showing how her stress had decreased. Meanwhile, the situation with the Zellian Empire grew more tense. More ships arrived at the border, and their demands for Kira's return became more aggressive. Some of the colonists began talking about evacuation plans. I need to make a public statement, Kira told Jake one evening as they sat in their garden. I need to tell my people the truth about what happened to me here. The council will never allow it to be broadcast, Jake said. Then I will send it directly to Dr. Cax and the other scientists who are asking questions. Let them decide what to do with the information. That night, Kira recorded a message explaining her experience on New Terra. She spoke about the kindness she had found with Jake, the medical discoveries Dr. Foster had made, and her hope that other Zelrian women might find similar healing. I know the High Council says I have been contaminated by human influence, she said into the camera, but I have never felt more healthy or more myself than I do now. This baby growing inside me is not the result of genetic manipulation. It is the result of being free from stress and fear. For the first time in my life, the message was transmitted to Dr. CS along with all of Amy's medical data. Within hours, Ben's communication equipment picked up a flurry of activity in the Zelrian fleet. Something's happening, Ben reported to Jake and Kira. The fleet is holding position, but their communication traffic has tripled. It looks like your message is causing quite a stir. 2 days later, they received an unexpected transmission. It was Dr. Cax herself calling from a private communication device. Princess Kira, the elderly Zelrian scientist, said, her face appearing on the holographic display. I have reviewed your medical data and your message. I believe you may be correct about the environmental causes of fertility problems in our population. Dr. Cax, Kira said, relief clear in her voice. Are you in danger for contacting us? Probably, Dr. C admitted, but I have spent my career studying reproductive health, and your case answers questions I've been asking for decades. Would you be willing to work with me to help other Zelrian women? Jake and Kira looked at Each other, they both knew that agreeing to this could put their baby at risk. But they also knew it might be the only way to prevent a war and help others who were suffering like Kira had suffered. Yes, Kira said finally, I will help. However I can. The message ended and the three humans sat in silence, wondering what would happen next. Outside their window, the colony went about its daily business, unaware that the fate of two civilizations might depend on one small baby who was not yet born. 8 months later, Kira held her newborn daughter in her arms as cameras from across human space recorded the moment. The baby had arrived 2 weeks early, but Dr. Amy Foster said she was perfectly healthy. Kira and Jake had decided to name her Luna after the Earth's moon that could be seen in New Terra's night sky. Luna was beautiful in a way that took Kira's breath away. She had her mother's silver eyes and dark hair, but her face had the softer, rounder features of human babies. When she opened her eyes, she seemed to look at the world with an intelligence that was startling in someone so young. She's perfect, Jake whispered gently, touching his daughter's tiny hand with his finger. Luna's grip was surprisingly strong as she wrapped her small fingers around his. The whole galaxy is watching, Amy said softly as she monitored the broadcast equipment that was sending live video to news stations throughout human space. This little girl is already famous. The birth had become much more than a personal moment for Jake and Kira. Over the past months, word of their story had spread throughout both human and Zelrian territories. Dr. CS had been working with other Zelrian scientists to study environmental factors in fertility problems, and they had discovered that Kira's case was not unique. Hundreds of Zellian women who had been declared barren were actually suffering from the same stress-related conditions that had affected Kira. Dr. Cax's research, combined with the medical data from Dr. Foster, had started a revolution in Zelrian reproductive medicine. We're getting reports from across the galaxy, Ben Crawford said as he entered the medical room with a data tablet. Human colonies are offering to host Zelrian women who want to try environmental fertility treatments. And get this, Dr. C says that 23 Zelrian women have already requested permission to travel to human worlds. Jake looked up from his daughter. What's the political situation? Are we still at risk of attack? Ben smiled for the first time in months. The Zellian Empire is splitting into factions, but not the way we expected. The progressives are gaining power and they're pushing for cooperation with humans rather than conflict. Empress Vara is facing pressure to accept the new medical research. What about my mother? Ki asked quietly. Has she said anything about Luna? Ben hesitated. Actually, yes, she sent a personal message about an hour ago. She wants to speak with you privately. Kira felt nervous but also curious. She had not spoken to her mother since leaving the Zelrian home world almost 2 years ago. With Jake's help, she moved to a chair where she could hold Luna while talking to the Empress. The holographic display activated and Empress Var's regal face appeared. She looked older than Kira remembered, and there was something softer in her expression than usual. My daughter, the Empress said, and Kira was surprised to hear emotion in her voice. I have seen the broadcast of your child's birth, mother, Kira replied carefully. This is your granddaughter, Luna. Empress Vera stared at the baby for a long moment. She is beautiful. She has our family's eyes. Yes, she does. Kira, I owe you an apology. The Empress's voice was quiet and serious. Dr. Cax has shown me the research about environmental fertility factors. We were wrong about you. Our medical practices were wrong. I was wrong. Kira felt tears starting in her eyes. She had waited her whole life to hear those words from her mother. Dr. Cax tells me that our attempts to treat your condition actually made it worse. The Empress continued, the stress we caused you, the shame we made you feel. It was our fault that you could not conceive, not yours. I have found healing here, Kira said softly, and happiness. I can see that. Empress Vera looked at Jake, who was standing beside Kira's chair. Mr. Mitchell, I thank you for caring for my daughter when we failed her. Jake nodded respectfully. She's brought great joy to our world. Your Majesty, Kira, I must ask you something important, the Empress said. Will you consider returning to help other Zelrian women? Your experience could save thousands who are suffering as you once suffered. Kira looked down at Luna, then at Jake. I will help however I can, but I will not leave my family. New Terra is my home now. I understand, the Empress said. Then perhaps we can bring them to you. Dr. Cax has proposed establishing a joint medical research facility on New Terra. Zel and women could come there for treatment, and our doctors could learn from human medical practices. Over the next few hours, messages poured in from across the galaxy. Human colonies offered support and resources. Zelian scientists requested permission to study the environmental factors that had helped Kira. Even some Zelrian nobles secretly asked about fertility treatments. Most surprisingly, 3 more Zelrian women arrived on New Terra within a week of Luna's birth. They had been declared barren by royal doctors, just like Kira, and they were desperate for help. Dr. Foster welcomed them in, began the same careful treatment program that had helped Kira. It's working, Amy reported to Jake and Kira 2 months later. All 3 women are showing the same improvements you did. Their stress levels are dropping and their hormone balance is normalizing. Kira was nursing Luna while they talked, still amazed by how natural motherhood felt after being told for so many years that she would never experience it. How long before we know if they can conceive? Based on your timeline, probably another 4 to 6 months, Amy said, but I'm optimistic. Their bodies are responding even faster than yours did. Jake was working at his desk nearby, writing reports for the colonial government. The success of the fertility program was bringing attention and resources to New Terra that they had never had before. The Federation is sending a team of reproductive specialists to study what we're doing here. They want to establish similar programs on other worlds, and Dr. C is arriving next month with a full research team. Amy added. The Empress herself approved the mission. Kira smiled as she looked down at Luna, who had fallen asleep in her arms. Her daughter was growing fast and already showing signs of the intelligence and strength that came from both her human and Zelrian heritage. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if the High Council had chosen a different princess to send here. Kira said, I don't think it would have worked the same way. Jake replied, coming over to sit beside them. It wasn't just the environment that healed you, it was finding a place where you were valued for who you are, not what you could Produce, the joke was supposed to be on us, Kira said, gently stroking Luna's soft hair. They sent me here expecting me to fail and bring shame to your colony. Instead you brought hope, Amy said, to both our species. A year later, the first interspecies medical research facility in the galaxy opened on New Terra. Dr. Cax worked alongside Dr. DeFoster to treat Zelrian women from across the Empire. 43 women had successfully conceived after environmental fertility treatment, and the waiting list grew longer every month. Jake had been promoted to ambassador for human-Zellian relations, while Kira became the director of the new medical facility. Their daughter, Luna, was walking and talking in both English and Zelrian, delighting everyone who met her. She's going to grow up in a very different galaxy than either of us did, Jake said one evening as they watched Luna play in their garden. The little girl was chasing butterflies, laughing as they fluttered just out of her reach. A better galaxy, Kira agreed. One where being different is seen as valuable instead of shameful. More mixed families had formed as humans and Zelrians working at the medical facility fell in love and married. The colony was becoming a symbol of what was possible when different peoples chose cooperation over competition. The story that had started as a cruel joke had become something beautiful, a bridge between worlds built on love, understanding, and the simple human belief that everyone deserves a chance to be happy. As Luna caught a butterfly gently in her small hands, then opened them to let it fly free, Kira knew that her daughter would grow up in a universe where differences were celebrated and healing was possible. The greatest joke of all was that what the Zelrian Council had meant as an insult had become the greatest gift two civilizations could give each other: hope for a better future together.